Yeah, because I think you got a good technical ability.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. You pressure close.
No, I won't go.
No. You don't got no power.
No, I don't got power.
You don't got power.
Miracle Boy Boxing, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Jose Cruz, and we are live after a tremendous night of boxing from Madison Square Garden. As we saw, well, not only we saw Xander Zayas becoming world champion, but before that happened, this would happen. Subriel Matias confronted Richardson Hitchens.
I'm a champion for a reason. I beat the guy that beat you. Remember that? He beat you.
If the fight happened, I want to bet you 800.
100,000?
Yeah.
You make it happen?
No. When the fight set,
Yeah.
I promise you, I want to bet.
It's gonna make.
You're going to bet.
You're gonna bet?
Yeah.
100,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got 50 in your package.
Oh yeah, I got 50, 100,000. Okay. We gonna be better. Okay. 100,000.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Subriel Matias has confronted Richardson Hitchens, and I said it right after Subriel confronted Teofimo. Like when I did that video, I said that Subriel Matias, he's going to confront Richardson Hitchens next, and I'll be waiting for it. I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So during that weekend in Vegas last week, during Pacquiao Barrios, Subriel confronted Teofimo. Well, prior to Teofimo, he confronted Gary Antoine Russell. You know, that wasn't too bad of an intense confrontation. It wasn't really a confrontation. Matias just happened to see, both guys just happened to bump into each other, and they just did a face-off, took a picture, and that's a future fight that can happen. And that's one of the most exciting fights at 140. And then the night of the fight, Pacquiao Barrios, Subriel finally confronted Teofimo Lopez, said what he had to say, let everything out his chest, even took a swing at Teofimo's hat, went at it with his dad, telling Teofimo and his dad que mama me el bicho, carajo, mama me el bicho. And then in the background, you saw Subriel's promoter, manager, Pedro Cruz, saying that, mira, vamos a sentarnos que lo vamos a sacar de aquí, that they're going to kick us out, if we don't stop and go sit down and leave Teofimo alone. And then I said, when I did the video, like I said, Subriel is going to confront Richardson Hitchens, and I'm waiting for it. And look what happened. Subriel has confronted Richardson Hitchens, and both guys had a interesting back and forth talk. Richardson Hitchens claiming and once again admitting that he ducked Subriel, saying that, why would I fight you? 10 pounds rehydration clause and all that stuff. Why would I fight you? Because I know the 10 pounds, you're going to keep coming, swinging. Why would I fight you? I'm not stupid. And then, like I said, Richardson Hitchens in front of Subriel must have been shitting bricks, man. His heart must have been pounding. He must have been like a nervous wreck in front of Subriel Matias, because I'm sure he was not expecting for Subriel to be there in New York. Remember, Subriel fought in New York, and a week later he went to Vegas, then took off back to Puerto Rico, left Puerto Rico just the other day to fly back to New York. I was not expecting Subriel myself to be in New York. He was just in Puerto Rico in the celebration they do every year in Fajardo. Like a caravana, like a festival. He was just there, and he surprised everyone. He's in New York at the fight. And remember, Polanco fought, and Polanco said that Subriel is easy work. Fácil. Subriel Matias is fácil. Well, let me tell you something, guys. With that performance by Polanco, Subriel Matias will treat Polanco as like a paper shredder, shred into pieces. If that was Subriel and they would have this earlier tonight. So yeah, they had a very interesting conversation. They even made $100,000 bet that the fight gets made. This is the video, guys. This is the video. I showed it earlier in the live here, and here it is.
You think so?
Yeah, because you pressure close. No, I will. You don't got no power.
Hitchens is telling Subriel, he has no power. He has no power. The one who doesn't have no power is Hitchens.
Like I said, why would I fight you, right? That put pressure with 10 pounds. And I know you're gonna keep coming. Why would I fight you? I'm gonna fight you now. No rehydration. Right now. Okay.
Hitchens is saying Matias is small. Naturally, Matias looks like the bigger guy here.
I'm a champion for a reason. I beat the guy and beat you. Remember that.
Matias said he got big balls. Hitchens said he got big balls too.
100,000? Yeah. You make it out? No.
Handshake. 100,000 bet that the fight gets made.
Yeah. You're gonna bet? 100,000? Okay. Oh yeah, I got 50, 100,000. We know you bet it. Okay. 100,000. Yeah.
You guys heard it there from Richardson Hitchens. They handshake $100,000 that the fight gets made. Will it get made? Well, Hitchens is going to go on that way because he's on camera. Subriel is tired of all this running. Subriel has been taking these flights to confront these 140-pound ducks. He took the flight to Vegas, confronted Teofimo Lopez, finally went back to Puerto Rico, now comes back to New York and confronted Richardson Hitchens. Not only to be there for Xander Zayas' win over Jorge Garcia Perez, but Subriel had an idea. He had a plan. He was not just there to see Xander Zayas fight. He knows Hitchens is from Brooklyn, from New York. And he had an idea and thought that maybe Hitchens will be there. And I told my dad, while we were watching the telecast, he's going to confront Hitchens because Hitchens is from New York. And so said, so done. I remember when I did that video of Subriel confronting Teofimo, I said it. Subriel is going to confront Hitchens. And he did. He did. And now these two guys have made $100,000 bet. $100,000 bet that the fight gets made. And I highly doubt it will get made. I mean, if Hitchens is a man of his word and honors that bet and that handshake, then we got to fight. Subriel Matias, man, he's not getting any younger. All he wants is the best fights, the bigger paydays for him and his family. So he's got to do what he's got to do. He's got to put the pressure on these fighters and make these fights happen because time is kind of running out. Matias is 33. He's making 34, 35. He's almost there, man. And he's had some pretty tough fights. It's his style. That's not going to end. He's not going to go in there and play cute. He's going to go in there and bring it to these fighters. A lot of punches, arm punches, right uppercut, left hook combinations. Hitchens saying Matias has no power, cap. Why would I fight you? 10-pound rehydration clause. Man, it's IBF rules. Those are the rules in the IBF. I'm the champion at the time. Matias was IBF champion. I'm the champion. These are the rules. 10-pound rehydration clause. Fight me or run. And you did. Because when Matias lost the belt, Look how quick he jumped on Perro. Congratulations, he won the title. But that was just a sign that he clearly ducked Subriel. He already admitted he didn't want to fight Subriel because of the 10-pound rehydration clause. He even said it on the video here moments ago. Why would I fight you? You're going to keep coming after me, throwing a lot of punches, 10-pound rehydration clause, whatever. I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to jump on Liam Paro, take his belt. Yeah. But now that Subriel is WBC champion, based on what Hitchens has said, he doesn't have to worry about no rehydration clause. We can do the unification and fight full-fledged. 140. Sure. So these two guys made a $100,000 bet. And Subriel wants to smoke, man. He wants to smoke. Hitchens, like I said earlier, he must have shitted bricks right there on the spot because he was not expecting Subriel to come after him right there. You know, and these 140 pounders, you know, have been put on notice. Let me know what you guys think about Subriel confronting Richardson Hitchens like I said he would, man. I mean, that needed to happen. I'm glad Subriel is going out there and coming after these fighters because it's ridiculous and it's just about time, man. Anytime they mention fights at 140 pounds and opponents and champions, they don't mention Subriel Matias, even when he was IBF champion. Now, you know, Matias has had enough. I'm WBC champion. I won the biggest fights, the bigger paydays for me and my family. I'm 33 years old. I got to come after you now because I can't keep waiting. I cannot keep waiting. And like I said again, I'm going to say it again. Rohan Polanco, Matias is easy work. Man, if Subriel was in the ring with you that night, earlier tonight, Matias would have treated you like a paper shredder. Honestly, he would have busted you up, man, because Randall didn't. He landed some good shots in you, and your face was all marked up a bit. Subriel would have rearranged your face. So I don't know about easy work. Anyone that fights Subriel Matias never has an easy night at the office. Never. Even in the two losses to Ananyan and Paro, both guys left the ring beat up. Oh, Paro schooled Subriel Matias. You're right. That was not an awe-inspiring performance. Oh, wow, like Subriel didn't belong in there. And that was not Subriel. It is what it is. He's not going to mention it. He's not going to admit it. He was off that night. He was not throwing the 80 punches per round. That pressure was not there like it was against Puello. Look at that. You got to compare the performances with Paro, the performance with Paro against the performance with Puello. The performance with Puello was day and night compared to how Matias performed against Paro. But that's why the rematch has to happen. And in Subriel Matias' story, Subriel mentioned a rematch is coming. Which one? Puello or Paro? There's a rumored card going around there on December in Choliseo with Amanda likely to be Subriel Matias' co-main. That would be perfect. Right back into Puerto Rico. Matias Paro 2. I think that's the rematch that needs to happen. Puello, based on the contract, there's a rematch, so they say. But the right rematch needs to happen is the Paro. Matias has to get that thorn right off his back, like how he did against Petros Ananya, and get that rematch. It's a revenge tour that's been going on here, ladies and gentlemen. From the time Subriel fought Roberto El Rifle Ramirez, the revenge tour began. He won that fight by knockout in 2 rounds. Then he went and fought Gabriel Goyas Valenzuela, won that fight by knockout on 8 rounds. And then now he took the WBC title from Alberto Puello by majority decision in New York. So Revenge Tour has been successful so far, but it's time for one more show, one more dance, and that's the Revenge Tour to end, which is the Paro rematch. That's the fight that needs to happen, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, Paro is not going to back out. He's not going to back down because he got the win last time, right? So, and Subriel, like he said, when I win a world title, I will give him that shot. So it needs to happen. But in other news, ladies and gentlemen, Xander Zayas has realized his dream of a lifetime by becoming the new world champion de San Juan, Puerto Rico. Xander Zayas. Ladies and gentlemen, what a performance. First 12 rounder for Xander Zayas as he officially becomes the new WBO junior middleweight champion of the world in a weight class that's filled with sharks. You know, you got the WBC champion, Sebastian Fundora, the IBF champion, Backroom. Xander Zayas now WBO champion. And it's a class, man, that's infested with sharks. Sebastian Fundora is a guy that Xander Zayas keeps calling out, even when he was the number one contender to the WBO title when Sebastian had it. Before he let it go, they had that face-off. Sebastian Fundora's sister came in between and said, no, we're not doing that. Because Sebastian had other plans. He had that Tim Tszyu fight rematch on his mind, and he won that fight. Xander Zayas now won his fight and now is world champion. So guess what? A unification now can happen between the two fighters. And it's another chapter in the Mexican and Puerto Rican rivalry that just happened moments ago. Xander Zayas defeating Jorge Garcia Perez in a performance that was, I'll give it a solid B+ or A in between those two. Xander Zayas boxed well. He picks his shots. He exchanged when he needed to exchange. He boxed when he needed to box. That jab was on point. Yes, he abandoned it at times throughout the fight, but it was there. The conditioning of Xander Zayas was there as well. You know, throughout his career in some of his fights, he faded down the stretch, like in the 9th, 10th round, because all he was doing with 10-rounders the most prior to this fight. This was his first 12-rounder, and he fought at a very fast pace against Jorge Garcia Perez, and he was able to maintain his gas tank throughout the fight, which surprised the commentary, which surprised Bradley, because even Bradley said it. His gas used to run out a bit going into the 9th and 10th rounds during his 10-rounders. But we're in the 12th round, and he's performing like it's the first round, which is a plus. He needed that gas tank because Jorge Garcia Perez didn't stop coming, didn't stop throwing, didn't stop trying. It was not an easy fight. You know, it was what it was. Yes, Xander Zayas won majority of all the rounds, only 2 rounds for Jorge Garcia Perez, but it was very competitive fight. Xander Zayas, man, he did it. He did it. He not only realized his dream of a lifetime, but he lived up to his potential and hype. You know, Bob Arum, when he signed him at 16 years old, becoming the youngest fighter to ever get signed with a promotion, has done it, man. His 5-6 year pro career all came together tonight. And it was a successful night because it could have been a disaster too. It's boxing. You know, it is what it is. Is it going to be a disaster or is it going to be an epic night? And it was an epic night. Xander Zayas' hand was raised, the Puerto Rican flag in the air, and he is now new champion, joining the likes of Oscar El Pupillo Collazo, Reine El Chulo Santiago, Amanda the Real Deal Serrano, and now Xander Zayas can join that list. I think, this says Subriel Matias. If not, Subriel Matias. And what a list of fighters from Puerto Rico that are world champions. Serrano, Collazo, Santiago, Subriel, now Zayas. Puerto Rico has now 5 world champions. And those 5 world champions are solid fighters. Of course, you got a legend in there in Amanda Serrano, who's looking to defend her titles in December in Puerto Rico, based on what they're saying. They say they got an opponent out there, but nothing is official concrete. I mean, I don't see any. She doesn't have an opponent on her box rec. So once there's no one on their box rec, it's not official. Because box rec is as solid as they come. Once you see an opponent on there, then it's pretty a done deal. Subriel Hitchens don't want anything with Matias. He is scared of him. He is. I mean, he had to go on like he did and put on a bet and handshake Matias because he was on camera. He was on camera. Of course, he's not gonna chicken out. And in the comment section, people are saying that, look at that, he admitted again. He ducked Subriel. Why would I fight you? 10-pound rehydration clause. You're gonna keep coming at me, throwing punches. Why would I fight you? I'm not stupid. Haha. Subriel Matias, ladies and gentlemen, I love the energy here. He's confronting these fighters. He's coming after these fighters like he come after them in the ring. putting the pressure on them without throwing punches, of course, but just putting the pressure because these guys don't want to fight Subriel Matias. You know, he's now a 2-time world champion. What more do you need? What do you need Subriel to do to get your attention? Well, Subriel decided to take matters into his own hands. Took a trip to Vegas, confronted Teofimo Lopez. Mama mil bicho, cabrón. Mama mil bicho. They had to almost escort Subriel out of the MGM Grand with his team. Hey, and the thing is with Subriel, right? In these confrontations, Subriel is not just doing this as a fighter when he's confronting these guys, like how you saw with Teofimo. Subriel, he's from the streets. You know, he's from one of the roughest areas in Puerto Rico, Martinillo. He's come up from ground up. He's come up the hard way. He came from nothing, and where he's from in Martinillo, that's one of the roughest areas in Puerto Rico. He's from the street. This guy has been shot multiple times, arrested for drug trafficking. Teofimo and Hitchens don't want any of them because they didn't want it on the spot. Because Subriel he was willing to go street on them with Teofimo at the MGM Grand. He was ready to go put Teofimo in a headlock and take him down. I mean, street stuff. That's why Subriel was so confrontational with Teofimo, like, Mama mil bicho cabrón. Sangano. Hitchens, I'm surprised Subriel's confrontation with Hitchens wasn't as intense as Teofimo. I'm surprised. I mean, he has admitted that he hates Teofimo, but he also despised Hitchens. But for some reason, that confrontation wasn't as intense for some reason. But it was good. It was good. Subriel did what he needed to do. He did what he wanted to do, you know, and he made Hitchens shake his hand, like $100,000, and we make this fight happen. So you saw it, $100,000, and the fight will happen. So we're on July 26th. Let's see what happens a month from now. Let's see what happens. And for those of you that didn't saw the video, I'm sure many of you did, that Subriel Matias has confronted Hitchens. Matias told Hitchens he's gonna beat him easy. Not just beat you, knock you out. And Hitchens is like, you gonna knock me out? Hitchens said Matias doesn't have power.
Like I said, and we make it happen. How would I fight you, right? That put pressure with 10 pounds. And I know you're gonna keep coming. Why would I fight you?
Admitted it again, he's ducking.
I'm gonna fight you now. No rehydration. Right now. I know. Okay. You know, it's good because we got to go
He's saying Matias is small, but Matias looks like a naturally bigger guy here, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm a champion for a reason. I beat the guy that beat you. Remember that. He beat you.
Subriel made Teofimo look small when they were next to each other the other day. And Hitchens is a little taller, but Subriel is naturally bigger. You can see the size difference. I bet $100,000 to make the fight happen. They handshake twice. Let me know what you guys think on that, ladies and gentlemen. Subriel Matias. Ay. I'm from Fajardo too, ladies and gentlemen. Just like Subriel. Not from Martinillo, pero Fajardo también. Just like Fajardo. And Subriel, not only we're from the same area in Puerto Rico and Fajardo, but he's my favorite Puerto Rican fighter right now. And he's doing what he's got to do. He's He's chasing these fighters down. If I gotta go Australia and take a flight and confront you, I will. If I gotta go here, there, whatever. Whoever holds a belt at 140 pounds or is a big name, Subriel's coming after you. But the Subriel, he's only coming after the world champions. If you notice, as he should. He confronted, not really confronted. I don't really like to be saying confronted with Russell because it was not really a confrontation. They never had beef. But it's business. Russell has a belt, which is a WBA title. So guess what? Subriel had to see him, and he did. They had a pretty good face-off. Nothing intense, really. Like with Teofimo. Teofimo was going to be a brawl, ladies and gentlemen. If there was no security, a fight would have broken out with Subriel and Teofimo. Like I said, Subriel is built like that. He's street. He's a street guy. He's on the streets of Puerto Rico. Drug trafficking, getting arrested for it, shot multiple times. He's built like that, man. Teofimo didn't want none of that on the spot. You know what I mean? And, man, the best thing that happened was security coming in and separating the guys because Subriel was about to put hands on him, man. It was about to get nasty in there, man. Subriel, he hates Teofimo's guts. He hates him. And that's one of the biggest fights at 140 pounds to make. Not only then, but much more now that they're champions. Both of them are champions and in the unification, which makes for a bigger fight. That will sell out the theater at Madison Square Garden easy. Teo's only chance of winning against Subriel, ladies and gentlemen, he has to catch Subriel like how he did Richard Comey back in 2019 when Teo won the IBF title at 135 pounds at Madison Square Garden. He caught Comey with a counter right shot right on the chin. But I don't know. Subriel is has one of the best chins in boxing. So Subriel, you need a bat. You need a bat. You need something, man. You need something because Subriel has one of the best chins in boxing. And it's hard to put a dent on that guy, man. Especially when he's on his A game. He keeps coming. He's a human wrecking ball. Some people call him the boogeyman. Some people call him the Arthur Beterbiev at 140 pounds. Some people call him the Máquina de Guerra, the punching machine. Whatever. All kinds of names. And guess what? He fits that. He fits it. Teofimo, Gary Antoine Russell, Richardson Hitchens. Those three champions, whichever of them fights Subriel, win, lose, or draw, it's going to be a long night at the office because Subriel is coming for you. One way or the other, he's coming for you. They thought Subriel was done when he lost the IBF title. He's now WBC champion, and he's not done yet. They probably, Hitchens and Teofimo, they probably are upset and stressed about that because they thought that when Powell beat him, Subriel was not going to come back and become a world champion again. Like Hitchens was hoping and praying Puyo beat him, and he didn't. When Matias was announced champion, Hitchens was probably in front of his TV screen like shit. Hitchens didn't want Matias to win. He was not looking forward to it. Prior to that fight, and I've said it before, Hitchens was already looking forward to fight Puyo. He was already dismissing Subriel Matias. He said, I'm looking forward and interested to fighting Alberto Puyo. He never mentioned Matias. He never said, I'm looking forward to fighting the winner of the Matias Puyo. He never said that. All he said was Puyo. Well, Matias won. So what you going to do now? Well, that confrontation was needed, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what happens. $100,000 was bet. Handshake. And let's see who's a man of their word. I know Subriel, of course, is a man of his word. We all here know Subriel. He's a man of his word. He's gonna handshake, but let's see if Hitchens can follow up with it. Excellent night of boxing, ladies and gentlemen. Xander Zayas is a new world champion. Defeating Jorge Garcia Perez in another classic chapter in the Mexican and Puerto Rican rivalry. and Subriel Matias doing what I said he would do, which is confront Richardson Hitchens. What a night of the Garden. You know, you had Amanda Serrano in there. You had Subriel Matias in there. A lot of Puerto Ricans. A lot of Puerto Ricans turning out, showing out for Xander Zayas, man. I mean, Xander Zayas did what a lot of fighters can't do, and has become world champion. Like I said, he realized his dream of a lifetime. Xander Zayas versus Sebastian Fundora. Let me tell you guys something about that fight. And that fight is likely next for Xander Zayas. And my honest opinion about this fight, we saw a little taste of what we're going to get between Xander Zayas and Sebastian Fundora. The only difference is now, it was a very competitive fight, as we all saw. Xander Zayas held a good bit. For some, he held a little too much. But he fought the right fight. He fought a smart, strategic fight. He boxed. He exchanged when he needed to. He held when he needed to. He moved. He used his feet. It was a tremendous performance. You know, Jorge Garcia Perez is a tough guy, tough Mexican fighter, typical tough Mexican fighter. Very awkward, uncomfortable to deal with, unpredictable. But Xander Zayas got it done. Got his hand raised, kept his zero, goes to Puerto Rico with the WBO title. Sebastian Fundora, 6'6", Tower Inferno, punching power in both hands, long ass reach, tall as shit. How would Xander Zayas deal with something like that? I mean, anyone that fights Sebastian Fundora is going to have a hard night. I don't care who you are. Just ask Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu was having his best moments, clocking Sebastian Fundora with a counter right hook on the chin, and then he quit. And Tim Tszyu is a pretty good fighter, warrior, one of my favorite fighters, 154 pounds. You know, was a bit disappointed because he was having his best moment before he quit on the stool. But only he knows. It is what it is. He lived to fight another day. Sucks, but it is what it is. But Sebastian Fundora, he can take a shot, he can punch, he can box. And as tall as he is, he can fight pretty damn well on the inside. So Xander Zayas not only has to deal with the reach, the height, but even on the inside is a fight because Sebastian Fundora can crank up his hooks and uppercuts on the inside with power and meet Xander Zayas in the pocket. Yes, Xander Zayas is a more talented fighter. He has the boxing skills to be able to outbox Sebastian Fundora. You know, but that challenge, man, of getting inside and working, like I said, even on the inside, even when Xander Zayas gets inside, it's going to be hard because Sebastian fights well on the inside too. So it's a hard fight. I'm Puerto Rican. Of course, I support all my Puerto Rican fighters. I thought I needed to go to the bathroom before Xander Zayas entered the ring or before the bell rung, but I was. Bro, you good job. I don't know, man. It's a hard fight. It's a hard fight. Let me know what you guys think about Xander Zayas versus Sebastian Fundora, man. That's a fight. It needs to happen. It's one of the best fights to make in the weight class. Now that Xander Zayas is champion, it's a unification. Xander Zayas keeps calling him out, so let's get it on, man. Let's get it on. We are 34 minutes in. We got 12 on the live. What you guys thought about Subriel Matias confronting Richardson Hitchens, ladies and gentlemen? Was that did you like the confrontation? What do you think? Hitchens is gonna he's gonna man up and accept the $100,000 bet? Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Clarissa Shields has defeated Lanny Daniels by unanimous decision to retain her undisputed WBC, WBO, and IBF titles. According to CopyBox, well, Clarissa Shields, man, she has retained her undisputed titles at heavyweight. Now the question is, will Layla Ali accept the $15 million that Clarissa Shields and her team put up front? You know, it's the biggest fight in women's boxing if Layla Ali was to agree to it. And I did a video on that, of course, a couple of those. It's the biggest fight in women's boxing right now. Will Layla Ali accept? You know, I predicted that Layla Ali would have accepted right after Shields win her fight, because that's what I was thinking. You know, she's not going to accept knowing that Shields coming up with a fight on Saturday. And I felt like she was going to wait until that happens to make a decision. So the fight just happened, and Shields won. So we'll see. Let's see what happens now. Maybe we'll get an answer Monday. Xander Zayas won? Yes, he did. He won by unanimous decision. In a pretty good performance. You know, Jorge Garcia Perez, he's tough. He's tough. You know, like most Mexican fighters. You know, and I respect all Mexican fighters. I was a big fan of Eric Morales. He was my favorite Mexican fighter. All action. When he gets hit, he wants to respond. My favorite Mexican fighter. And it was just another classic chapter in the Mexico versus Puerto Rican rivalry, man. It was 12 rounds of nonstop action in New York. But Xander Zayas won, unanimous decision, by clearly outboxing Jorge Garcia Perez. Jorge Garcia Perez had his moments. He was landing some solid shots. Like I said, he was a very uncomfortable guy to fight. His offense was unpredictable. He would lunge in with his shots. So you don't know what's coming next. He would lunge in with an uppercut, a looping overhand right shot, and he would catch Xander Zayas off guard at times. And it was just hard to deal with. So Xander Zayas did what he had to do. He had to held when he had to held. He had to use his feet when he had to use his feet. Use his jab to offset Jorge Garcia Perez to make him, restart. Yep. So it was an interesting night of boxing, ladies and gentlemen. Shushu Carrington, ladies and gentlemen, at 126 pounds, defeating the young fighter from South Africa, Zaite. I think that's his name. Very hard name to pronounce. But it was a stellar performance. Everyone, even Tim Bradley, wanted Shushu to close the show, but not everything is knockout. It was a solid performance. Not a mind-blowing performance, but Shushu Carrington, for 12 rounds, displayed boxing skills, good power, took his time, and he got the job done. And he even called out Rafael Espinosa. I like that. Rafael Espinosa was in attendance to see Jorge Garcia Perez. And Shushu called him out. Let's get it done. He wants to smoke. And Shushu versus Rafael Espinosa is a hell of a fight, if you ask me. Rafael Espinosa, like I said, Eric Morales is my guy. And Rafael Espinosa reminds me of him. Tall, rangy. Eric Morales wasn't tall and rangy, but I'm talking about the fighting spirit. The fighting spirit. Rafael reminds me of Eric Morales in terms of how he fights. Warrior. When he gets hit, he wants to respond right away. Exciting. And he's a problem. Rafael Espinosa is the problem, and Shushu may be biting off more than he can chew with Mr. Rafael Espinosa. But it needs to happen. Those are fights that needs to happen. It's good for boxing, and stylistically, is a fan-friendly fight. Just like Xander Zayas, Shushu is going to have to deal with that height, that reach, power as well, and that dog that Rafael Espinosa has. So yeah. So let me see. Let's see what happens, man. It's interesting. The boxing landscape is interesting. Now that Xander Zayas is world champion now as well. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, man. It's always a pleasure to be here talking to you guys about boxing. The last stream I had with my dad, we had a pretty good. We draw a good bit of attention. It was our best live together. And I just said I normally don't do lives after boxing events, right after them. But I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do one tonight. And I did. It was a pleasure to be here with you guys tonight to talk about boxing, my favorite sport in the world. And Xander Zayas becoming new world champion. Congratulations to him. He will be heading down to Puerto Rico on Tuesday, like he said. Subriel Matias, my guy, confronted Richardson Hitchens in a confrontation that needed to be held. So let's see what happens on that. Miracle Boy Boxing, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys about boxing as always. All right? And I'll see you guys in my next video or live stream. Peace.